Hello, welcome back to another episode of Orange Juice, news and notes from around the world of insoles. I am your host, Owen Kenoy, and back co-hosting with me today is my mother, Marsha. Welcome on.
Good morning. How's your week going?
You know what? In Michigan, so Marsha's in Florida South, Orange South, which is in Florida. So she's been, soaking up the warm weather for a few weeks now. But here in Michigan and across the Midwest, we've had what I would call a heat wave. So it's been in the 70s the last few days, and I've been able to get out with my family and go on some walks and go to the park and do some yard work and all of the above. And wow, I always say how rough the winter can be on you, truly, just because you can't get outside as much. But every time spring rolls around and the weather breaks, it is another reminder of how brutal winter is, or maybe better framed, how excellent the warm weather and being able to get outside and enjoy nature is.
I love it. And you remind me of just getting outside in the spring in our Michigan house. It would be like, okay, what can we get done now? Like, I feel like that's when we start doing all the repairs, who's the contractor we call, we need our east troughs fixed. They all fell down in the winter from ice storms, or, oh shoot, now we need a new roof. Oh shoot, the air conditioning isn't kicking on. So I feel like you get the list of what contractor can I find to come and help me get things going in the yard or in the house, all that good stuff. So
Yeah, I actually this is a side story. It actually has something to do with our topic today, but there's this kid in our old neighborhood, because if you followed along, we just moved, but in our old neighborhood, since he was probably like 13, if I had to guess, he's been doing this landscaping business, and he'll ride this like tractor down the sidewalk with all of his equipment and all that. But he came over and gave us a quote on pulling up a bunch of weeds, and he was over here, so we hired him. Shout out to him. I love to see the young work ethic, entrepreneurial mindset. So he was over here busting it out yesterday, and of course he had on work boots, kind of like what you would work in the yard in, because they were really kind of doing some heavy weeding and whatnot. But shout out to him, and shout out to those who do work on their feet, whether that's landscaping, like that, construction, warehouses. A lot of the times, in manufacturing environments, you're going to have to wear some sort of work boots as well. So that is kind of what we want to focus on. Not kind of, that's what we want to focus on today, is work boots and what makes a good work boot, how to make them more comfortable, and just, if you do need a good pair of work boots or haven't really considered what kind of work boots you have, like, hey, what should I be looking for and how can I make the most of them?
yeah, I think this is such a good topic on, work boots, foot pain, how can our world help you? But, if you think about it, I'm not a construction worker. This is just my perception, is like there's so many different tools and items that I see them use when they're working. And your feet are just another tool. Like the work boot is another tool. And if you don't get that tool right, you're going to come home with fatigue, aches, pains. There's just so much more to it than if your power drill didn't work that day. So we want to talk about the success of having the foundation of your body done right, so that you can have a successful day on the job around, all the other things that you have to do, all the other tools that you have to collect. We look at the construction work boot as one of the number one accessories that you have to have right to have a successful day. So that's what we want to talk to you today about. And, we get a lot of questions in our chat box around work boots. So we're going to address that today, but I just wanted to bring that up to the point of just how valuable it is to get the work boot right for you as someone on your feet all day.
Such a great point. And for me, I'm getting a little more into like DIY projects at home and that sort of thing. And, in a past career, worked a little bit in construction, but from what I know, true and through, the right tool for the job is always going to help you out. You're really going to struggle if you don't have the right tools, and I know that a lot of professionals take that seriously, right? So you're building out your toolbox. You're not going to show up to a job unprepared. It can be the same thing for your feet. So you think about your body and it just aches, and you're like, man, it's just part of it. Like I work construction or I spend hours on my feet every day in a manufacturing facility. That's just part of it. But we just want to slow down and talk about, hey, what you put on your feet might actually be able to help you, and those aches and pains may not have to be part of it, or at least as much of the aches and pains. So we're just going to go through again like what makes good work boots and how insoles work together with them. This is, of course, Orange Insoles podcast, but truly the insoles are relevant to this as well. So just starting out, generally, if you say, hey, what makes a good work boot? There are a few things that I would say right off the bat that would be kind of key features. One is durability. So you obviously are working hard, long hours, walking a lot, that sort of thing. You want what's underneath your foot to last to that wear and tear and the pounding. The last thing you want to do is get, a month or two onto the job and have to replace what can be expensive work boots. So make sure you check out the durability, and what that means is looking at the materials used. Typically, if you have a pretty stiff work boot, that is because it's made of, I guess, like more durable or higher quality materials. And so it's going to A, last longer, but B, that's by design as well, where it's going to hold its shape as you are walking on your uneven terrain or whatever it may be. A lot of them are like puncture proof too. So let's say you step on a nail, that's not going to go through your boot or whatever it may be. So durability is definitely one. I just started getting into the next one, which is protection. So make sure you know what you're looking for. A lot of them are slip resistant, which may be key for you. A lot of them have safety toe. So usually this is either like a composite toe or a steel toe, something like that to protect your foot. Again, if something falls on your foot, you don't want to totally crush the bones in your toes or whatever it may be. So looking for something that has the proper protection. Waterproofing might be something that you're interested in. Many cases not necessary though. And those are kind of a key starting point. And then the next thing is how it fits your foot. So you absolutely want it to fit well. It should be secure through the heel, but also roomy in the forefoot if possible. Sometimes if you do have a wider forefoot like me, it's just not overly achievable to have like extra space in your toes, but make sure you're accommodating them as much as possible and go from there. So what I would recommend, if you're like, okay, that's what makes a good work boot, but I need some, definitely head to your local sit and fit shoe store. They are going to have options for you to try on, and we've talked about this before with shoes, but it's like, hey, just because one pair works for one person or has gotten high reviews doesn't mean it's the right fit for you and what you need. So a lot of these stores are going to have specialized brands and also specialized work boots within those brands. A few that I hear about all the time, and even working at Playmakers in the past, we saw where the first one was Red Wing. Playmakers does not specifically carry Red Wing, but all sorts of folks are coming in with Red Wing boots on or got it from their local Red Wing dealer. And with Red Wing, they just have such a wide variety of those work boots that you're probably going to find something that's working for you. And then another one that Playmakers actually did carry is the Keen utility line. So we've talked about Keen in the past, but the utility line is specifically for their work boots, and they're going to have a lot of the features that I had already mentioned. But they absolutely are durable. Folks will rave about how long they last, and then they do have that wider fit, especially in the toe box, and then just are have those protection features like I mentioned. So a lot of talking there, but just want to at least give a rundown, like, hey, what does make a good work boot, and what should I be looking for if I'm trying some on?
Well, I would say too, around the Red Wing boot, yeah, our family business doesn't carry that product, but some of our best retailers who you can buy Orange Insoles at their specific retail store
Yes.
are Red Wing accounts. It just pairs up so well with those type of boots. So one thing I want to jump to is, this is kind of common sense. Why do people love their work boots. And I would say one of the main reasons we just talked about when we opened up is fatigue, right? If you've got the right work boot and you're following what a good work boot is, it's going to make, take away the fatigue, and you're just going to feel good. You're going to feel sturdy. You can, you feel safe. You can't wear a tennis shoe to a job site. There's no ankle support. There's nothing. You're just sliding all over, and our boots can really give you that sturdy and more reliable feel. The other thing is break-in over time. So one thing why people love their work boot is over time they take the time to break it in, and so, in the beginning, your foot can feel a little slippery in there, but it's just because over time, it starts kind of, you're breaking in the boot, it's forming to your foot, that type of thing. And when I say forming to your foot, it's not actually forming to your foot, but the boot itself is starting to get that flexibility and fitting more to what you're doing and what your needs are. So that's the other thing is after you get kind of through the breakthrough time with a work boot, it starts to feel amazing. And people also love they kind of the brand. Like we talked about Red Wings, they're so loyal to their brand. But if a brand works for you, stick with it. Like we really believe in that too. And then if you find something that, like we just mentioned, does work, don't switch. But even the best boots can still lead to foot fatigue, and we're going to talk about that because just like we do in our day-to-day shoes we talk about when you pull out that sock liner and it's like flimsy and like a fish and there's no support. Some of these work boots have the same scenario. So we'll talk about how these can lead to foot fatigue.
Well said. And just one thing I wanted to circle back on is we mentioned like the different toe types, whether that's like the steel toes or composite toe. So I do want to run through that. If you're wondering what's best for you, simply ask, honestly, whoever you're working with or for. There's usually requirements, whether it's at least steel toe or at least composite toe or no requirements on that. But if you're, I guess, individually like looking for something, here's kind of the differences. So steel toe is going to be the most protection for your toe. It's absolutely heavier, but if you think about it, it's literally like reinforced steel in the toe of your boot. So if something really heavy does drop on it, the idea is it's not going to crush down and crush your foot. So that's the idea of why you would want like a reinforced toe, so to speak. And then aside from steel toe, you will also see composite toe. So composite toe is simply, it's just not metal, but it's like a hard plastic or rubber, much lighter, does the job for a lot of things. But again, certain environments, they'll require you to have a steel toe if you're dealing with heavy equipment or things that obviously are going to crush your feet. And then finally, some of them will have what they refer to as a soft toe. So if you're like, hey, I don't need the toe protection, I just want a soft toe. It's lighter and more flexible. But the idea though is it still is going to give your foot protection. So like you could probably, with most soft toe work boots, I mean, if they have at least some sort of protection, which most all do, like I was saying, you could probably walk up to like a brick wall and kick it and like be fine because it has that protection on the end. But again, if you're working with these heavier items or more serious situations, maybe like equipment as well that could harm you, that's when you'd want to go to more of like the steel or composite toe.
The other thing that's interesting, if you back up and say, I just got this new job, I'm on a new work site, that's one of the things that is you should ask, or what is required of my day-to-day. So do I need a steel toe on my boot or not? Do I need to be oil resistant on the outer layer? Do I need to be waterproof versus breathable? And why I say that's key is because waterproofing puts another layer on your boot. So if it's required and you're in that type of environment, you want to have waterproof. But if not, having that one reduced layer of not having the waterproof makes your boot more breathable, and it's just one more less layer, and it's more of a mesh breathable type of boot. And then, how durable does my boot need to be? So there's just a lot of good questions that if you're new to this or you're starting a new project on a new work site, you might want to ask, gather some information to decide what type of work boot you should be wearing on the job.
And even, Marsha, one thing I thought of was even if you, ask your coworkers like, hey, what boots have you found to work for you? Because there are very specific trades, and let's say like I'm totally making up, you're in plumbing and like you're crouching down all the time, and the way that your weight is on your toe, a certain brand or a certain type of shoe doesn't hold up the way it should, so they recommend this one or whatever it may be. They're just going to be doing the exact things and hopefully they have some stuff that they like. There is a chance that they're like, hey, none of us really love our shoes, in which case reference the first few parts we talked about, go back to the drawing board, definitely hit like your local shoe store, but your coworkers should definitely have great recommendations on what to look for as well.
That's a good point. So if I'm working on a roof, can you imagine the angle of my feet all day? Putting tile and stuff versus, somewhere flat on cement all day, or if I'm rolling carpet and I'm bending and standing and bending. Yeah, those are really good points, and coworkers know. I mean, I definitely like that idea. So we hear from customers all the time, like we talked about, and a lot of people just assume this fatigue, you're tired, is just part of the job, right? My feet hurt, my back hurts, my hip hurts, all that. It's just I worked, a long shift today, and we did a lot. So, but why, work boots we want to talk about can still cause you pain. So I'll switch it to you, Owen.
Yeah, so Marsha had mentioned this briefly earlier, but if you actually pull out the insoles in your work boots and take them out, a lot of the times, I'll do like a generalization, 80% of the time, maybe more, maybe less, they're going to be these flat, flimsy insoles that don't necessarily have structure or support, that sort of thing. We've talked in the past about how, bear with me for a second, how running shoes have all these different support structures that can help you from overpronating or rolling in on your foot and having that strong foundation and keeping you on the base of your shoe. Work boots do not have that. They don't focus on that. They are mostly focused on the things we talked about prior about like, hey, are you going to be protected? Like, is it protected around the heel? Is it protected around the toe? How does it actually fit your foot? Not necessarily like, hey, this is the support structure underneath your foot that's going to make you feel comfortable all day. So that's kind of the first and foremost thing is, those durable materials do help and equate to some more comfort, but ultimately your foot or your feet are working long periods of time. You're putting extra strain on the muscles in your feet, and they get tired. And when they get tired, or even just from the get-go, they're misaligned, they need extra support to help them out. One, it helps your feet feel better, but then it also helps prevent, ankle pain, knee pain, hip pain, and lower back pain. So if you take care of your body from the ground up with the insoles, you're going to look at, potentially saving lots of small problems and kind of that add up of like pain over the course of the day by just having the proper support in your work boots.
Yeah, so I would say, kind of summarizing what we were just talking about is making sure your work boot fits properly. And then I would say give them time to break in. And then one thing that we didn't bring up is rotating between work boots. So now you're like, wait, I just dropped a couple $100 in these work boots. Do I really want to drop another? No, not in the beginning. But when you're getting ready to switch over and you're like, okay, I'm going to need a new work boot. We highly recommend getting that second work boot in the rotation. So go get the new pair and then rotate between the old and the new pair as you break in the new pair. So that's just a tip that we've gotten back from a lot of construction workers. That's very helpful. And then it just breaks in the new one over time instead of just a halt where you just chuck in one old pair because it ripped out and you're leaping into the new pair. And then the other thing is make sure it also offers you an opportunity to air out your work boot, right? So if I'm wearing the same work boot every single day, odor does build up unless you're wearing smart wool socks. I'm kidding, but that wool doesn't collect the odor, but it does. So it's good to kind of let your boots, get air to them, freshen up each day. That's another good reason to kind of rotate between the two. So that's just something a lot of people do not think about when it comes to the comfort of these boots and transitioning to a new pair. So, I think, Owen, you just covered why insoles make a difference, like why you need to put it in there. I think you also covered a lot of like, what should you look for in an insole? You were talking about support. You don't really want it soft. We don't want you walking on a pillow. That's not the point. You don't pull out the pillow, the flimsy insole, which was a pillow, out and put a pillow back in. You want to have that durable support that's offered. And then it's got to fit in there well too. Make sure it's true to size. Just like you would when you go to try in a work boot, you don't upsize your work boot. You keep it more true to your foot size, just like you do an insole. Make sure it's true to the foot size of your work boot. So if you're a men's 11, make sure you're getting a men's 11 replacement insert to fit in there. You don't want to be trimming it. You don't want to be doing any of that. You want it to fit right in there. And then you want something that, will last, not something you're constantly replacing every few weeks when it comes to that insert. We can only speak to Orange Insoles. We can speak to other companies that we are familiar with too. If it's a good one, it should last 6 months, 500 miles of walking on your feet, minimum, without an issue. So just think about that as you're looking for what type of insole to buy. So, and I know you already spoke kind of specifically orange insoles for work boots, but like, is there anything that you want to emphasize or might have been missed?
Yeah, so I think the main thing to emphasize is a lot of the times when you think about insoles or like extra comfort for your shoes, like Marsha was saying, you're focusing on cushioning, like, hey, I want more cushion underneath, like that'll help feel better. And that is true to an extent where the cushioning does help relieve some of that or it helps with the shock absorption. That's what I was looking for. But our insoles are not only cushioned, they also have support as well. So it's cushioning and support is what you truly need for a full workday, where you have the shock absorption and kind of that like, this feels nice, but also the structure underneath that's helping you. And you're like, okay, what does that mean? So if you look at an orange insole, our best seller, the full length, which most people will get for their work boots, it has a rigid kind of like raised or contoured arch. So if you press on the arch, it's not going to collapse. And the reason for that is it's arch support. So it's made to support your arches. When your arches collapse, that's what can cause a variety of problems and misalignment that we were talking about before. So it has the rigid arch, but also different from many insoles. A rigid arch is something that a lot of them will have if you're looking at actual support insoles, but different from those, ours have a deep heel cup, and this is what seems to really stick out for those who do put orange insoles in their work boot. It really helps lock the heel into place and absorb extra impact, basically creating a natural cradle for your heel. And this is another support feature that's going to help manage that overpronation that I was talking about, but also just give your feet a break over those long days while you're working on hard surfaces. So the other thing to highlight as well is you might hear a lot about custom orthotics and how certain ones will cost hundreds of dollars or even in the thousands. I hate to even bring that up, but I have heard those quotes. You don't have to go straight to that step. Something like orange insoles, where it is just fit to your shoe size. It has a universal arch, and that deep heel cup really works with a lot of different foot types. And in doing that, you can just plug those right into your work boots for, the orange full length costs $46 and it's free shipping. So for $46, you have a pain management solution for at least 6 months. We've got feedback that they last longer, and it's something that really can make a huge difference. I mean, people have said all sorts of things, actually, that I think Marsha is going to talk about a little bit more.
Well, it's interesting. In the office in the South here, we had a contractor come in, and he was working on an air conditioning unit that wasn't working. And he overheard us recording a podcast. And he said, I gotta know about these insoles. Like, I heard you talk about them. Like, this sounds like what I needed. So then he went to his car and he brought in a box. He goes, I just did this yesterday. He went to Good Feet, a Good Feet store, something he saw advertised. He goes, they just sold me these inserts. It was like, honestly $2,100 for 3 inserts. I was so brokenhearted to hear that, because yes, some people need to spend that kind of money. I get it. He was in so much pain. He said, I would have done anything at this point. But then I said, here, take ours. Like, what's your shoe size? I got him a couple pairs. I said, just try them. And I just want to know for ourselves, like, what you think. And they were extremely comparable. And he just couldn't believe how this was so close to a professionally made orthotic for him. And he had gotten the 3/4 one from the Good Feet store. And we also offer a 3/4 insert as well. I know, Owen, speaking of the full length, some people will get the 3/4 length one because they need more space in the forefront of their work boot. It's just too tight of a space. Some people just have thick feet. And so that way the liner comes out, the 3/4 goes in, and it leaves a lot more space in the front. But normally 80% of the time our full length can fit in fine with any work boot and the person's fine. But we do offer the 3/4. So I bring that up because, yes, there are people who need that extra adjustment, but this might be worth trying before you go drop, $800 to, he said one of them was $800. He bought a package of 3 for the $2,100. He got a discount, something. So something to think about when you go down that path. But the good news is we know orthotics work for people. So we know it will take away the fatigue. We know it can help get you through long days. I mean, there's, between them and the medical world, there are people who are on there, the police and the fire department. Like, there are people on their feet all day long. And we know these can help. We've got reviews that tell us this. Customers tell us this all the time. So highly
Marsha
recommend trying them.
It was funny you mentioned firefighters, because I was going to bring up, I mean, literally one of my best friends, I'm going over there Friday night to hang out. He is a firefighter, and he swears, like, he will not work without orange insoles in his boots. Like, it's just, like, not an option. And I know it's just saved him so much hassle, so much pain. He's a super fit, buff guy. We give him a hard time because he was like really skinny in high school. And we're like, man, you're just like a waste of size. What happened to you? But it was all, once he started wearing the orange insoles, he just felt so good and bulked up. No, I'm kidding. But the point is, real people use these and notice a very large difference. So if you are sitting there going like, hey, like, I just wonder if there's something worth trying, reach out to us. You can always give us a phone call. You can shop on our website, whatever it is. And the best part about Orange Insoles is we truly believe in our product. So if you do go ahead and decide to make a purchase on our website and are not 100% satisfied, you can reach out and we will work with you on a refund, an exchange, whatever is best for the situation. So hopefully this helps give you some information on, hey, what's a good work boot? Am I putting insoles in there, or might that be necessary? Do I need some more support? And how do I make the most of my long work days and feel better so I can do more at the end of the day? With that said, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. We'll be back with another episode of Orange Juice. Quick plug at the very end here. You'll notice the crazy background behind me. If you guys have any suggestions on my home office remodel, what you would like to see in the Orange Insoles office, please leave a comment, and we are going to incorporate as many suggestions as possible. So you very well could see your suggestion come to life in my office. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next time with Orange Juice.